On December 7th, 1995, Galileo arrived at Jupiter with a problem that should have hollowed out the mission before the real work even began. Its main high-gain antenna, a 4.8-meter dish built to send science back across the solar system, was still not fully open. It had been commanded to deploy years earlier. It never did. Without that antenna, the planned high-speed route home was gone. At Jupiter, the smaller low-gain antenna could manage a basic link of about 10 bits per second. The original system was designed for more than 100,000. Not a small reduction. A different kind of mission. So how did Galileo return useful science from Jupiter at all? And what did that rescue leave behind on the other side of the silence? The easy version of this story says, engineers saved a spacecraft. It sounds clean. A machine fails. People improvise. The machine carries on. The high-gain antenna never fully deployed. Galileo approached Jupiter with the dish short of its intended shape and the original high-rate path still unavailable. That fact did not settle the mission. It made its future an open question. Could the faint link that remained carry real science across that distance? Or would Galileo arrive with its most important discoveries trapped inside? The answer was not waiting in a backup manual. To see why the question was so hard, look first at what Galileo was supposed to be. The spacecraft launched in 1989 aboard Space Shuttle Atlantis. Its destination was Jupiter, but getting there was only the beginning. Galileo was meant to study the giant planet and its system in close detail. Cameras and instruments could gather pictures and measurements far from Earth. The problem was always going to be getting those measurements home. For that, Galileo carried two very different antennas. One was the high-gain antenna, designed for the fast X-band downlink. When fully deployed, it was the mission's wide-open door back to Earth. The other was the low-gain antenna, a much smaller backup route. It could keep the spacecraft in contact. It was never meant to carry the same torrent of science. That difference is the heart of the case. A spacecraft does not become a scientific mission merely because it remains alive. It has to be able to send back what it sees. A camera can take an image a billion miles away. If the data cannot cross the distance, the image may as well remain sealed inside the machine. Galileo's original high-rate downlink had a maximum rate of 134.4 kilobits per second. That is the channel the mission was built around. The low-gain alternative was not a slower version of the same thing. At Jupiter, its basic rate was about 10 bits per second. Try to hold those two numbers together. One path could carry more than 100,000 bits each second. The other, before the rescue work, could carry 10. The problem was not simply that reports would arrive late. The original plan for returning large amounts of scientific information no longer fit through the opening Galileo had left, and that opening had failed long before Jupiter came into view. On April 11, 1991, while Galileo was still in cruise, controllers sent the command to deploy the high-gain antenna. The launch restraint was released. The antenna was supposed to unfold into its full shape. It did not reach that position. NASA's later account is careful about what it knows. Tests indicated that a few of the antenna's 18 ribs, probably 3, were held by friction in their folded state. The wording matters. Probably is not the same as certainty, and the available record does not turn this into a story of one proven, simple defect. What it does establish is enough. The antenna failed to deploy completely. There were attempts to free it. They did not make it fully open. That is the first hard wall in the story. There is no late scene in which the ribs finally break loose. No recovered main dish waiting to surprise everyone near Jupiter. The physical failure stayed physical. Galileo would have to live with it. For a while, that left the mission suspended between two possibilities. Perhaps the antenna could still be recovered. Perhaps it could not. But the date of arrival was not waiting for certainty. Every month spent hoping the original system might return was a month closer to Jupiter, with no reliable plan for the data Galileo was meant to collect there. So, while recovery efforts continued, JPL began examining what could be done with the low-gain antenna. From late 1991 into early 1992, teams evaluated ways to improve its ability to return telemetry. This was not a substitute dish sitting in reserve. It was a decision to ask whether an inadequate path could be made useful enough to carry a reduced mission. That question is less glamorous than repairing hardware. It is also more demanding. Repair asks whether the broken part can become itself again. Redesign asks, what has to change everywhere else when it cannot? In January 1993, the Galileo S-band mission was formally approved and funded. That institutional decision matters because it is the moment the story stops being a contingency and becomes a commitment. NASA and JPL were no longer waiting for the original communications architecture to reappear. They were going to construct another one around the low-gain antenna. There is no need to invent a lone savior standing over a console. The record supports something more substantial. Flight teams, ground teams, telecommunications specialists, and the deep space network changing the system together. The achievement was not a private feeling. It was work made visible in software, receivers, coding, antennas, and the time those ground stations would have to give up for Galileo. The cost of that work was real. The revised mission demanded major changes, both on the spacecraft and on Earth. It required substantial deep space network time, and it began from a concession nobody could explain away. Some original objectives would not be met, but a narrow channel is not useless merely because it is narrow. It becomes useless when every piece of information is treated as though the channel were wide. That was the first part of the redesign. Galileo had to become more selective about the data it sent. Instead of treating every measurement as something to be transmitted in the same raw form, the new system could edit and compress data on board. The spacecraft would do more work before it spoke. Compression is often described as making data smaller. That is true, but it misses the dramatic point. Galileo was not creating a faster radio signal. It was deciding how to preserve more meaning inside each bit that could escape. The bottleneck did not disappear. The mission learned how to pass more through it. NASA later reported that new onboard processing during Galileo's first orbit at Jupiter allowed compression that could return up to 10 times as many pictures and other measurements as otherwise possible. That is not a promise made before launch. It is the documented payoff of a changed spacecraft working at Jupiter. But compression could not do the job alone. A smaller package is still lost if the signal carrying it cannot be heard clearly enough. So the ground side of the mission changed too. The revised link used improved coding, changes to modulation and telemetry, ground antenna arrays, and reprocessing of recorded signal and data. These are technical phrases until you picture the chain they describe. Far from Earth, Galileo sends its faint S-band signal through the low-gain antenna. On Earth, the deep space network and other ground resources do not simply wait for a stronger transmission that will never come. They combine receiving power, improve how errors are corrected, and work harder with the signal they have. Data editing and compression on the spacecraft meet better reception and processing on the ground. The route is rebuilt from both ends. One piece cannot be given all the credit. The official technical accounts describe a system: compression, antenna arraying, coding, feedback for decoding, and processing of recorded information. Calling any single one the trick that saved Galileo would make the story easier to tell and less true. The new link also made its own demands. Arraying antennas meant coordinating major facilities. Improved receivers and processing meant changing equipment and methods on Earth. New software had to be developed for the spacecraft and for the ground. NASA says extensive new flight and ground software was developed between 1993 and 1996, and that deep space network stations were enhanced for low-gain operations. That is a long time to work without the comfort of the original solution. 3 years of building around an absence. The image to keep in mind is not a damaged antenna magically opening. It is a chain of small, deliberate gains. A bit trimmed on the spacecraft. A code that makes a damaged message recoverable. Antennas listening together. A stored signal examined again. None of those steps makes the distance shorter. Together, they make the distance less wasteful. The JPL account of the S-band mission shows how tightly the pieces depended on one another. Before compression was added, the first set of changes was expected to raise the average sustainable rate from roughly 10 bits per second to roughly 100. Compression could add another order of improvement. Those were not separate victories happening in separate stories. A clearer receiver on the ground could not replace data the spacecraft had failed to prepare. Better compression could not help if too much of the weak signal disappeared into noise. The link had to work as a chain. That is why the ground stations matter so much here. Deep space missions are often remembered as solitary machines moving through black space. Galileo was not alone in the part that determined whether its discoveries could be used. Its faint transmission depended on receivers on Earth, on antennas that could be arrayed together, on people and systems able to record a weak pass, decode it, and process it again. The spacecraft's remaining voice had to be met by a much larger effort at home. There is a temptation to turn this into a tidy parable about making do with less. The record is more exacting than that. Less did not become enough through optimism. It became useful because the mission changed what counted as a sendable measurement, how that measurement was packaged, how the signal was caught, and what could be recovered after reception. Each improvement had to respect the same stubborn fact. The wide door was still closed, and the decision was made while the original answer was still being pursued. Teams did not simply shrug at the antenna and move on. Low-gain options were studied while attempts to free the high-gain antenna continued. That overlap matters. The project had to prepare for the possibility that recovery would fail without pretending that failure had already been accepted as inevitable. When the S-band mission received formal approval in 1993, the choice was no longer to wait for a better ending. It was to build one that the evidence could support. From 1993 through 1996, the work continued in both directions. New flight software for Galileo, new ground software, and upgraded deep space network stations on Earth. The path was being altered before the spacecraft reached the place where the missing capacity would matter most. By the time Jupiter finally filled Galileo's sky, the engineers were not unveiling a replacement for the high-gain antenna. They were relying on a communications architecture assembled around its absence. By the time Galileo entered the Jovian system in December 1995, that chain was ready to carry the mission's most important burden. The spacecraft had reached the place it was built to study. The main antenna still had not become the antenna it was supposed to be. This is where a lesser story would skip straight to celebration. Galileo made it. The rest worked out. But the real evidence is better than that, because it lets us see the limit and the achievement in the same frame. NASA's archive describes the basic low-gain case at Jupiter as 10 bits per second. After the combined changes, the effective rate was described as 1 to 2 kilobits per second. That is a dramatic improvement over 10 bits. It is still not the original high-rate X-band design. The numbers are not there to make the story sound technical. They tell us what kind of victory this was. A link that began as a whisper was strengthened until it could carry useful scientific work. But it never became the broad channel Galileo had been promised before it left Earth. During the first Jupiter orbit, new onboard processing and data compression increased what could be returned. NASA says the compression could allow up to 10 times as many pictures and measurements as otherwise possible. Ground and communications changes increased the average telemetry rate tenfold. Read that carefully. The mission did not recover a single missing antenna and suddenly resumed the original plan. It made the remaining path more valuable at every stage. Choose the data more carefully. Make it more compact. Transmit it more reliably. Receive it more effectively. And recover more from the signal once it reached Earth. The antenna remained folded. The data path changed around it. That is the point at which the word saved becomes more complicated. At the beginning of the story, the unopened antenna looks like a verdict. The machine has lost the part that makes its mission possible. And in one sense, that verdict was correct. Galileo did lose the original form of its mission. Some planned objectives could not be completed. Some opportunities were gone because the high-rate path never came back. But the failure did not get the final word by itself. The people responsible for the mission did not pretend the broken part was whole. They accepted the boundary it imposed, then rebuilt the route between what Galileo could observe and what Earth could receive. That changes the meaning of the same image. The antenna is not evidence of a miracle. It is evidence of a limit that was never removed. The achievement is what happened after the limit became undeniable. There is something quietly severe about that kind of work. A complete restoration would have been simpler to celebrate. It would have allowed everyone to say the original design survived. This was harder. The team had to decide what information could be compressed, how a weak signal could be recovered, which ground resources could be joined, and how much time and effort the new system was worth. The answer was not that every original ambition could be preserved. The answer was that enough could be preserved to make the Jupiter mission scientifically productive. NASA says the high-gain antenna problem prevented some original objectives from being met, while the great majority were achieved. A JPL Telecommunications retrospective gives a more specific figure. With the improved S-band downlink, the orbiter completed 70% of the objectives of the original primary mission. Those statements are compatible, but they are not a license to turn 70% into a universal score for Galileo's scientific value. The figure has a defined scope. It does not measure every instrument, every extension, or every question the mission might have answered with its original communications system. That boundary is not a disappointment added after the fact. It is the price written into the rescue from the beginning. A reduced channel forces choices. A measurement that is never returned cannot be reconstructed later from enthusiasm, or from a better story about what the mission accomplished. And yet, the reduced mission was not a symbolic survival. Galileo carried out its Jupiter program, completed its primary mission in 1997, continued through 3 extensions, and was deliberately sent into Jupiter's atmosphere in September 2003. JPL now lists the mission as past. That final plunge is often the kind of image space history likes to make conclusive. The machine disappears into the planet it spent years studying. But the more revealing image comes earlier. It is Galileo near Jupiter, with the main antenna still not fully open. That image contains both truths at once. There is the loss, a piece of hardware designed to carry a fast river of data home, held short of the shape it needed. And there is the response, a smaller antenna, a redesigned system, and a route that carried as much meaning as people could honestly force through it. The mystery is not whether the antenna was secretly repaired. It was not. The record does not leave a hidden recovery waiting in the dark. The real mystery is how much ingenuity can be required simply to keep a question connected to an answer across a distance that refuses to make room for either. Galileo's main antenna never fully unfolded above Jupiter. Beneath it, bit by bit, the smaller path kept carrying what the mission had found a way to save.